How many people here have, or at some point, have had a pet? Almost universal, right? Whether it be a cat, a dog, a fish, rabbit, we have guinea pigs, right? Everybody at some point seems to have a pet. Maybe you grew up with more of a farm style where the animals were outside. Certainly as I grew up, our animals were not indoor pets, they were outdoor pets. But there is something special, almost magical, about having this extra non-human life that you want to have in your home. In Florida, we have lots of other non-human life that we don't want in our house, whether it be cockroaches, spiders, or lizards. But for one that you choose to be with, whether it be something soft and cuddly, or even something like a lizard or a snake, there is a magical connection that happens when we reach out to this non-human life. So how many of you are interested in the latest developments in robotics? And how many of you would want to have the robotic dog from Boston Dynamics rather than a real dog? Of course, in addition, it'd be great you could have your dog walk your dog, which would be fabulous, especially if they came with a scooping attachment. But I don't see a lot of people interested in having a robot dog. I mean, think about the advantages. Right? Sure, you just have to plug it in at night, but it's not going to bark unless you tell it to. It's not going to make a mess on the floor. It's not going to need to be walked. You can walk it when you want. It's much faster than a real dog. It can carry more. You can have it haul your shopping around when you're walking. Places that don't allow dogs to come in have no problem when you bring a machine, so why would it be kept out? There are a lot of advantages to having a robot dog. And no, I don't actually own stock in Boston Dynamics. This isn't meant to be a sales pitch. Because I, like you, when I consider this, I think it would be neat to have. A lot of fun to have one of these. Not that I can afford one. But I wouldn't consider it a pet. But I'm curious why all of you are also on the same page as that. Why would this not be a pet? What's different between this and a flesh and blood dog or other pet of your choice? Having two cats, they each have their own personality. Right? My phone is like everyone else's phone, and sure, I can put apps on it that are my apps, but the basic hardware is the same everywhere, and the basic function and behavior of a device is the same everywhere. But perhaps I could program it to have a simulated personality. Perhaps you could download different personalities. Maybe you could push a button and it would change, and it would be the friendly personality, but if it was getting too hyper, you could push the sleepy personality, and then, you could have exactly the right personality at the moment you wanted it. Am I selling you yet? No, that doesn't sound more attractive? Why not? It's less predictable. I mean, a real animal is less predictable. But that's the problem, isn't it? Right? The dog can one day you come home and he's eaten all of your shoes. Right? The robot dog will never do that. Right? The dog one day is going to start barking at the wall, and you have no idea why it's doing this. The robot dog won't do that. What's good about being unpredictable? The real dog can love you. A robot dog can show you the actions of love if it was programmed to show them. But you say that's not real love. Why not? What's the difference between the dog and the robot if both of them are doing the same actions that you consider to be loving? It feels wrong, doesn't it? Yes. Very nice, very nice, but you're on my side. Robot dogs are better, right? Adriel, did you have something else to add about the predictability? hard to imagine this, but a robot dog is dumber than a real dog. A real dog has a mind and a brain that has been crafted by millions of years and shaped within God's beautiful creation. And as much as we can put into a computer chip and programming, we can't come close to duplicating that full experience. And that's why I think both predictability and love that you're definitely on the right track here. The robot dog will only do what its instructions tell it to do. And its instructions can only be a reflection of the person who programmed it. It can not reach beyond. Yes, we're getting closer with machine learning and advanced artificial intelligence to have a learning system for systems themselves. But we have a long way to go before we catch up to the spontaneity, the individuality, the essence, the soul, if you will, of a living, breathing creature. And I'm not sure that we'll ever quite get there. That's a conversation for another philosophical discussion. But I want to use what we've just worked out here to understand a little bit more about what it means to be in a human community, to have a relationship with another human being. Because sometimes it seems, especially over the last 2 years, as we've become more crowd-averse, as we've pulled back from being among large mobs of people that are perhaps not behaving according to predictable algorithms, that we've maybe lost sight of what it is that we actually are looking for. Is my life better because I can program my TV to show me all of the types of movies and TV shows that I want? Of course, it's much better than what I was growing up with, where you had to just sit with 4 channels of choice, one of which was usually full of static, and you had to wade through the commercials, and who knew what they were putting on, and most of the shows were garbage. Now I could sit in front of the TV and watch programming that was good and interesting to me until the day I died and I wouldn't run out of something to watch. But I'll tell you, that's not my goal in life. In fact, the idea, the thought of that being how I will spend the upcoming year makes me a little uneasy in the stomach. But if I imagine somebody sitting next to me and sharing some of those moments, sharing that show, talking about it, reflecting on it, suddenly it becomes a lot more interesting. There is a fundamental difference between watching a show on Netflix by yourself and watching a show with somebody that you care about. And there's another level of difference, although I wouldn't recommend it necessarily at the moment, of watching it with someone you care about and in a movie theater, where there are 200 other people who care about it. Like I said, maybe not quite with 200 people in the theater at the moment, but hopefully you all remember those before times. And that difference is precisely that those other people are not under my control. When we have a relationship, a conversation, when we have an interaction, I don't know what they're going to do. And I can't control what they're going to do. Now, oftentimes that makes people very frustrated in our life. We want people to behave a certain way. We expect them to behave a certain way. We are disappointed when they don't behave in a certain way. And so we simply begin pruning our relationships. We just say, you know what? This person, he doesn't like the same movies as me. This person doesn't like the same music as me. This person doesn't like the same political party as me. This person doesn't like the same books as me. And I'll just keep pruning and pruning and pruning until I come to the true person who I can be with. And guess who that is? Yourself. And only you. Because the only person who is exactly like you in all of their likes, tastes, and preferences is you. But when you are with someone who has a different opinion, a different feeling, a different idea about life, all of a sudden life becomes so much more rich and textured and loving. Loving because they disagree, but still choose to spend the time with you. They're loving because you didn't program them to sit next to you and watch that show. You didn't program them to make the right statements and right noises in appreciation of the things that you are appreciating. Instead, they chose to spend that time with you. liking it, but of their own free will, or maybe disagreeing with you about whether this is good or rubbish, but still choosing to be with you, despite having that disagreement and differences of opinion. And that's how you know when the person is willing to sit through 3 hours of what they consider to be the most boring movie on earth, but they're doing it because it's important to you. That's love. That's love. But we are drifting away from that. We are drifting into monocultures where we try to refine our relationships, expecting others to behave more and more like curated members of a cast, of some program in which we are the star and they are the supporting actors. And then we are surprised when it feels unfulfilling. And then we are sad and feel lonely, even if we have those relationships, because we know that we have essentially created our own artificial community. A community like Temple Israel and every other facet of life has to be populated by a diverse group of people. It has to be populated by people that come from all walks of life and that are walking in life in different ways, and yet still choose to come together to spend that time to express an opinion, safe and secure in the knowledge that they are not going to be driven out of the door because they have somehow uttered a taboo, but because they are appreciated, cared, and loved in this community. And yes, sometimes there are passionate disagreements. Sometimes there are painful discussions. Sometimes there are disagreements where it may be hard to imagine how will we get past this. But any relationship that doesn't have potential for that type of interaction is no different than a robotic dog. It's no different than imagining that the program on your phone cares for you and can fulfill that need for you. Doesn't mean we have to seek out controversy. Doesn't mean we have to allow controversy to continue if there are ways to bring peace. But it means there always has to be that seed, that potential, the unpredictability of the relationship, if it is going to be a true and honest relationship and not merely populating the background of our lives. I'm very proud of Temple Israel for the last year and a half and the many different discussions and decisions that we have had and the many arguments and fights that we have had on a variety of different subjects. Because despite them, we are still together. And because of them, it matters that we are still together. We all know that we can walk out that door anytime we like. And so when we look around and see that we stay, when you tune in through the live stream, knowing that this is your home, it matters. It matters very much to me. I hope it matters to you. Shana Tova.